what I wanted to improve was my confidence. I wanted to try and move away from that when you get up every day feeling a bit of an imposter. But I genuinely don't feel like that very much, very often. I genuinely feel confident when I go into work. I don't feel so overwhelmed by what I don't know, and I feel more confident with what I do know. I'm Eleanor Pugsley, and I've been teaching singing to mainly school children for a long time. Mainly hobby singers, except the ones who are doing GCSE and A-level or BTEC equivalents, in which case some of them are aspiring to go into the business. I did hook into your marketing and saw a few of your online courses and just found them really accessible. That's how I got into being interested in learning with you. So I was aware that there was gaps in my knowledge that I really wanted to fill. And I bought a lot of books, mainly ones that was newly out or highly recommended on teachers' forums. And I enjoyed some of them, and I enjoyed bits of some of them. I found some of them very difficult to read. I've never been good at reading textbooks, and some of them I found a bit intimidating. I was frustrated by the thought that there was all this knowledge in the book that I really wanted to digest, but I just found them overwhelming. So then lockdown happened, and as a lot of people sort of reassess, I just noticed that a lot of people talked about still as a way of getting more interesting work. And I wondered if a big investment like that might just be what I wanted to reboot my knowledge and employability in a slightly more interesting realm. And I was just on the cusp of being determined to do an Estill course, but I wasn't 100% invested in the Estill ethos. And then saw your course and thought, that's much more the kind of thing that I want to do, because I really like your teaching style and I believe in your teaching ethos. Learning really thoroughly how the different registers work and the importance of developing chest and head voice in the most fundamental forms, because let's face it, a lot of people's problems is mixing and the break. So I've started working a lot more technically in that way. And just overall feel more confident. I've got a lot more tools to draw on, especially with developing voices. They are long-term things that you need to develop over time. And before, I just had this knowledge that it's going to take a lot of time. Whereas now I've got positive tools that I can use on the way. So I've got more confidence in the outcome. So the course itself is massively thorough and detailed. I'd never done like an online learning course where you can just keep rewinding, and particularly those initial videos about the registers. I've watched those like quite a few times, and now I understand so much more about the fundamentals. The ongoing support I just think is phenomenal. That's one of my favorite things. Weekly group calls keep you totally engaged, and the fact that you can ask questions in the group and anyone will answer, but particularly you will always answer a question, Chris, and I really appreciate that. Group calls are great for a community, because let's face it, when you're teaching one-to-one a lot, you need to watch that it doesn't get too isolating. It's really non-judgmental, never felt intimidated. Even when you stand up and sing in front of everybody says, oh, I'm really nervous now, but everybody feels the same. It's not like you're standing up and thinking, oh God, I can't do this. I'm going to seem rubbish and everyone else is going to be judging me. You never feel like that. Because I'm a classically trained singer, and that's my background. But even having said that, a lot of the classically trained singers will learn by this sort of rather esoteric method. It's just like a long process of a teacher showing you a way and you repeating it. And they don't really talk about anatomy. And there's probably a lot of teachers out there going, yes, I do. But when I was learning, it wasn't like that. So I just got this sort of fascination by how it works. And nobody seemed to want to explain that. So I had some massive gaps in my knowledge. I would get teenagers coming to me from the get-go, and they just wanted to do pop songs. And I felt very much out of my depth. So I struggled with that for a while. But having done Evolve, I feel a lot more ready for someone to come in and say, I want to learn this repertoire. And they say, okay, that's fine. We'll just do that. Whereas before, I probably came across as a bit too closed off. And if you couldn't mold to the way I felt comfortable teaching and confident teaching, then the relationship would just peter out. You have this way of saying to your students, what are your goals? That's sort of like your starting point. And I was almost terrified of that idea, because I thought, what if the goals are something that I can't do? And over time, I've realized that now I can do a lot of that. And if I can't, then I know where to go to ask. I feel more comfortable by saying, what do you want to do today in your lesson? This is your time. Or for a new student, what do you want to work on? And then I'll suggest things that maybe they haven't thought of. And I have done more classical repertoire with someone who probably walked through the door and never expected to do that. But I won't push it if it's not what they're enjoying. And some people do like a wide variety. I've got a lad doing his music A level this time, and he's doing one classical art song, one opera aria, and one pop song. That's his final presentation for his A level. And I feel really confident that he'll do well in all three. I think the way I justified a large investment, when I was really honest with myself, what I wanted to improve was my confidence, which I felt would probably lead to more interesting work. I wanted to try and move away from that when you get up every day or driving to work feeling a bit of an imposter. And I know that's really common, not just in the field of teaching singing, but I genuinely don't feel like that very much very often. I genuinely feel confident when I go into work most of the time. And I'll take that, because a lot of people don't feel confident all the time. And it's probably not particularly the best way to be if you just feel like you know everything. Because I'm very much an advocate of life's a learning experience that never ends. There's always more to learn, but I don't feel so overwhelmed by what I don't know. And I feel more confident with what I do know.